All right, so how dogs learn and how to be their favorite teacher. Whenever I speak to groups of people, and I say, the vibe that you want to bring to Christine's, you said you're not seeing the PDF. Is anyone else not seeing it? Oh, wait, hold on. Everyone in meeting. I'm sorry, I only sent that to Dana. Thank you for speaking up. I appreciate that. All right, loading. All right, let's make sure everyone can see this now. All right, are we saying it? Okay, all right, awesome. Thank you guys. I love you, you're the best. Thank you for sticking it up. Okay, so think about your favorite teacher growing up. That person probably, when you think about them, gives you a little bit of a like warm fuzzy feeling, right? You know, like you think about that person who inspired you, who helped you reach your goals, who helped you like get that stick-to-itiveness that helped you achieve the things that maybe other people couldn't inspire you to do. So being their favorite teacher is a whole vibe. And what I like to say is, it's a lot of things. It's understanding what methods we're using, why we're using them, using the right reinforcements, understanding learning, and then like just kind of understanding that there is also a human element that we're going to bring to it. So here we go. The methods. So the methods that we're going to be using are all, a lot of these methods you can add like unpleasant things to them to make them less like positive reinforcement based. But these are the methods that we're going to use. So luring, which you've probably done when you're teaching a dog to sit, you put a cookie to their nose or a treat to their nose and you lower their head up and back, and it causes them to sit. Capturing. So capturing, one of the most recent times that I've used it is with a puppy who was having a hard time laying down. Like I was trying to lure him with a treat and he was like, oh, my body, like I don't even understand how this all works yet. So what I did was I just waited. I just started talking to his owner about something, and as soon as he was laying down, I marked and rewarded. So capturing is an easy way to put behaviors on cue that are like happening on a daily basis. Shaping is basically taking a behavior and breaking it down into tiny steps. Usually I say like break it up into percentages of 10 because it's easier for me to work that way. I have to have an idea of what my criteria is. So for example, if with a fearful dog, if I reach all the way and touch a leash and that's too much for them, what I may have to do is reach a little bit towards the leash and look at it and then pull my hand back. Good job. It's especially with fearful dogs, with dogs who have maybe like a really rough learning history. And then also we learned yesterday with prey animals, like cows need to have things broken down in really tiny pieces. And then marking is, so you don't have to mark. I'm going to suggest that you do, because that's one of the things that gets people and behaviors on track really quickly. And it like makes it impressive. Like it makes it, I don't know, it like, if you win early on, right, you're going to stick with it. So this is like marking is like the, I don't know, like when you go on a healthy eating plan and there's like, in the beginning, there's like, all right, we're going to have you do this crazy thing for 3 days so that you like drop 5 pounds so that you stick with it. This is that. So marking basically,
What marking is to them?
yes, marking basically is when you indicate the moment that your desired behavior occurs. So if you think about sitting, when a dog sits, you're looking for the moment that the butt hits the floor. So if I'm using a clicker, I'm going to try to click right when that happens so that the dog goes, oh, that's what you were looking for. Now, the really important thing about marking is that there's a 1-to-1 ratio, and it's a golden rule. You can't break it, because if the marker does not always equal the reward, then you've burned that promise that you have really developed over time. So when you're marking, it can be a clicker, it can be a yes, it can be good, it can be banana. You can choose whatever you want to use to mark the behavior, but it's that indicator. Some people find it really helpful to think about like looking through the lens of like a, an old like press and shoot camera. So like you're trying to capture that moment. So pressing that button is when that marker should be pressed. You can use a clicker. It's totally fine. We were using them yesterday. I mean, if you don't have a clicker, you can use a pen. Like I said, you don't have to. And then you don't always have to do it once you've taught the behavior, right? You're not going to do it every single time you cue the behavior. But when you're teaching a new behavior, I find it really, really helpful to use that marker. So just think of marker as a pair, mark and reward. It's never just mark. Mark cannot stand alone. It is mark and reward always. Okay. Why? Why are we going to go with using reinforcements instead of punishment? Because shock collars and prong collars they work really quick. That's why people like them. It's mean and lazy. Listen, there are a lot of schools of thought on this. When you are looking at trainers, balanced indicates that they are willing to use tools that are illegal in other countries. Okay. A balanced trainer says, well, not everything works for every dog. That's not true. Like learning theory is learning theory. Learning theory really hasn't changed. I mean, there have been some developments, but the basics of learning theory haven't changed. So yes, 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 yes. Those methods of punishment do work. And if you have used them, if you have had a professional guide you to use them, we're not going to tell you to stop. We are going to say, maybe you won't need those after you have learned a different way. We certainly don't want anyone to feel unsafe, but the reason that we choose not to do it is because there is a very high risk of creating fear, anxiety, and stress at a pathological level where dogs need to be medicated and need, higher level of professionals or veterinary behaviorists to help them unravel the trauma. We're very vulnerable when we're trying to learn. So having teachers who, maybe don't have the technical skills, and then on top of it are using punishment, it just is high risk. So as much as I know dogs, I can't look at 10 dogs and tell you which 4 are going to be really messed up by your like prong or shock or choke chain. So, if you've gotten away with it with your dogs, okay, like you've been lucky, and yes, punishment does work. But if you could do it a different way, like why would you choose? Why would you choose that way? And I think, if this is a crossover experience for some of you, I think that as we get to know each other, you may have some things to share about, how this feels different than training with punishment. All right, so we've talked about using rewards because this is reward-based training. You can and should use food to reward your dog for good behavior. Because dogs need food to survive, it's a no-brainer that every dog can be motivated by food. So, can be. If you think your dog is not food motivated, then what I want you to do is I want you to use their feeding schedule as an opportunity to see if you can motivate them with food. So one of the things you can do is you can mix in a little bit of high value. I like those human grade, like meat and cheese foods. I use mozzarella, I use cheddar, I use Colby Jack, I use chicken. Sometimes in a pinch, I will use chicken nuggets. I use hot dogs. I use meatballs that I buy frozen and microwave and cut up. Casey, what else is in our arsenal? Like we have a lot of, we use a lot of good stuff. Fish, salmon.
I know I had a lot of problems with Quinn finding the thing that got him. Oh, there's been, I know you use sauerkraut. I've tried meatballs. I've tried rotisserie chicken. I've tried boiled chicken. I've tried hot dogs. I found out my dog was not okay with any kind of cheese product.
He does like those dehydrated hearts though.
Dehydrated hearts. So we went through all of the normal people food and that didn't work. But if you do have questions about like, hey, my dog is, I'm not finding that thing that makes him wag his tail, wiggle butt, ask. Some of us will have other suggestions. Some of us, you know, might even live close enough, be like, here, see if this works for you. Like whatever you need, throw it out to the group because the hive mind is a lot more of a learning opportunity by far than just trying to go it on your own.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you for sharing that. And we will be dropping a Facebook link in the follow-up email. I know not everyone was able to make it in. We want to take this recording and upload it for them so that they can get caught up and then join us in future weeks or follow along, whatever. You know, you don't have to, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you miss a week, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to keep doing it. All right, so mixing that high value human grade food in with your dog's kibble, doing that as like a training mix, does a couple of things. It randomizes the rewards and it offers you the opportunity to jackpot better treats for better behavior if you would like to do so. Excuse me. You can also use play, praise, and affection as rewards. There are literally like countless secondary reinforcers that you can create by pairing them with food. Think Pavlov, pairing that like meat paste with the sound of a bell. The bell eventually becomes conditioned to elicit the same response. So you really can pair anything with food. And what can happen is then when you're training dogs and you have this like little bit of a reward history built up, you are using your markers, your timing's pretty good. You've got a nice bag of treats with varied levels of rewards in there. And you've kind of gotten to know this dog, you know their body language, you know what kind of like dog-centric voice they like to be spoken to in, and you can basically like shower them with a bunch of reinforcements at once. Like that's why I will have clients say, my dog won't do it for me. And I'm like, I'm super reinforcing though. Like it's on purpose. I'm very reinforcing to dogs. And one of the reasons too is because yes, I do use punishment. For me, punishment is withdrawing my attention or just being like, ew, and like turning away. So just be as reinforcing as you possibly can. Be that favorite teacher for your dog and see what you can get out of them. It's free drugs, guys. Oxytocin loop, okay? Dogs are the only species that we know of, I think, that that we can get that same loop with that we do with a human infant. So love on your dog. It is good for your mental health, okay? little free tip there. Okay, stages of learning. This is super important. When you tell me that your dog is being stubborn, the first thing I'm going to do is put on my smart ass hat and go, well, what stage of learning is your dog in? Right? Okay, so maybe that's new to you and that's okay, but I'm telling you, your dog's not being stubborn. They're not there yet. Okay. This is true. Think about the last time, and a lot of us did it during COVID, right? We picked up something new to learn to like enrich ourselves and give ourselves some like mental stimulation so we didn't get mushy. But the acquisition is when it starts to click. Go, oh, okay, I get it. Fluency for dogs is when in their day-to-day environment, they can quickly and accurately respond to cues 95% of the time or better. So the vast majority of the time, if your dog can sit in their home, then they're in fluency. When they go outside, everything changes, okay? That new environment, if they haven't practiced the behavior in a different environment, then they haven't had a chance to generalize it yet. And it's not going to look the way it did inside. Okay. So we've really got to look at this and go, where is my dog? And then when we finally get everything generalized, then we actually have to maintain it too. And there are some of you who may have dogs who are, I would say that this goes for dogs who have aggression towards people or who are who have generalized anxiety. Maybe they're like afraid of more things than you can count, and or they're on medication, right, for like anxiety. For those dogs, I think it might be important to always reward for those really important behaviors, like accepting handling from a veterinarian, accepting a stranger passing by and like having a verbal exchange. Those things are so important that you may want to be like, listen, I'm going to care for this the way my neighbor across the street, Bob, cares for his lawn. He is out there 24/7 with every kind of tool. He's like 150 years old. That lawn is keeping him alive, man. He cares for that thing, but it shows, right? So if you really, really maintain something, then you got the best lawn on the block, right? Or you got the best dog. So look at what's important to really, really maintain. And, you know, things like trick behaviors, if those fall off and then, you know, they have to reacquire them, it'll probably happen quicker, no big deal, but just think about the importance. And then dogs are super, super talented at picking up on our emotions, and they can read micro facial expressions. So you really can't lie to your dog. So I worked for years in temporary sheltering with the ASPCA, and I would go into, like, for an example, an old department store that they had rigged up as a temporary shelter. And we've got 2 pods of dog fighting dogs and some hoarding survivors over here, right? I'm a designated handler, so I'm going to be handling some of those dogs that are like very stressful because they don't want to be handled. They are a high risk for biting. They're a risk to other people. They're a risk to dogs. If they do bite me, you know, that's they're on quarantine. So this is like a really serious professional tip that all of my colleagues and I got together and we were like, yeah, we really do. Like, you have to clean your slate before you go and work with that next dog, because if you carry in like some bad juju from this session, this dog knows. So you go, yep, okay, that was rough. Whew, I'm going to shake it off. And sometimes I even say to the dog, hey, your friend over there in Bravo Pod, he's having a really hard day and that was rough, but let's start over. Let's just do this. And they can read that I'm being authentic. Case, you had something to add?
What made the biggest difference for me when I started working with Hello Bully was reframing how I was working with dogs. So instead of just being like, oh my gosh, you're being frustrated, I had to change the verbiage into, oh my gosh, you're really struggling. And it really changed how compassionate I came to that moment and realized like he's trying his best and he's just not there. But it's not a matter of he doesn't want to or oh he's having it's you're struggling. I'm your mom, I'm responsible, I love you enough to be like, just like if a kid is afraid to go on a roller coaster, I wouldn't yell at them. I wouldn't yell at my dog if he's afraid to go across the street and he sits his butt down, you know. So reframing that as, you know, no longer calling it a, you know, you're just being deliberate, you're being this, you're being that, and saying those words out loud made a huge difference for what I showed my dog when we were working together.
Yeah, Casey, it's so helpful. And I think that's one of the things in Rad Dogs that we got like one of the biggest feedbacks about is that like just that reframing of when your dog is struggling, they're not trying to give you a hard time, they're just having a hard time. And if you look at this little graph at the very bottom of this handout, this is the science behind it, okay? So performance here, stress here, okay? Down in that lower left-hand corner where we are maybe snoozing in bed, we have hit the snooze bar and we're like, meh, I don't really, it's Saturday. I think I'm gonna hang out for a little while. We need stress to motivate us to perform, okay? So what happens is we start to produce chemicals that actually allow our brains to function and learn, right? We go into a state of what's called eustress, and there is a definite sweet spot on that curve. Once you have gone off and down and sloped into distress, not only can you not do any of the things that you can normally do, it's also going to take you time to recover from that distress. Okay. So Grisha Stewart, wonderful trainer, does a program called Behavior Adjustment Training. And one of her illustrations makes this, she basically draws an analogy to dogs being on the beach. So like you want to keep them on dry land, maybe dipping their toes in the water. You don't want them wet and in the ocean where they can't breathe and then they have to come out and also dry off before they can be okay again. So when you think about, you know, your dogs and what this looks like for them in their perspective, when you build a good reward history and you know what motivates your dog, and you have just a little bit of, just enough to make you dangerous information about dog training, you can get those behaviors. You really, really can. And when you can't, you can figure out why, because you're not just going to go, my dog's being stubborn. You know what that is? It's a real conversation ender. It just stops our progress when you say, well, my dog's just an idiot. My dog's just stubborn. Your dog is not stubborn. Your dog is trying, and there's something that is not clicking here. We're going to figure out what it is when we go, are they in distress? Is this environment too much? And we've actually worked that out into our handouts for what we're going to be doing over the next 4 weeks. So without further ado, let me add this next handout. All right. Here we go. So sending, let me make sure everybody got it. Okay. Can you guys see that? All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to run through this. Then I'm going to show you a 5-minute video that is going to basically lay all this out and give you the instruction. Then we're going to come back and see if you guys have any questions. All right. I'm also going to give you a journaling sheet. So you're going to get an email later on tonight that's going to have these 3 handouts, a link to the video, and you're going to print out this and your journaling sheet, and you're going to pick your days to work with your dog. And then next week, what we're going to do is the first half of class is basically going to be all the questions and troubleshooting about what we did in week 1. All right. Now, remember at the very top of our first handout when we talked about like luring and capturing. So you don't need to know this right now, but in week 4, I'm going to come back and go, hey, this is where you learned capturing. Okay. And it's going to be cool because you're going to go, oh, I know how to, and then you're actually going to be able to figure out how to train your dog to do like anything. Okay. So find it and come here. So in this scenario, we are just assuming, and if your dog is different and you need to follow up with me and email me about this, do it. But we're all assuming for the essence of time that it's more important for our dogs to come to us than to go away from us. So we're going to use 2 different values of treats. We're going to start with, for low value, we can use kibble or Cheerios. And then for high value, we're going to cut up pieces and the size of a frozen pea. All right. Not bigger than that, just little tiny pieces of chicken, hot dog, meatball, and cheese. And you can just put them in a Tupperware separate or in 2 baggies. We're going to keep them separate for this lesson though. So to teach this behavior, you're going to pick a small room. Like, don't start out in the yard where you're competing with birds and squirrels. Start in a small room. If the kitchen's too big, guess where you're going to go? To a bathroom and shut the door. You are going to set up. See, this is the thing with our human brains. We set it up so that the dog can't fail, right? So if there's nothing else going on in the bathroom and I have Cheerios and cheese and I'm playing a game, what else are you going to do, right? You are going to play the game with me. So basically you're going to toss a piece of kibble away from you. And as your dog is already doing it, you're going to say, find it. And then you're going to let your dog munch on that Cheerio or piece of kibble. Then you're going to go, Bubba. And as your dog turns back towards you, and what I like to do is I like to watch the front feet. I'm not even just waiting for the head. I want motion. The dog has made the decision and the body has already started to do the thing that is leading you back to me. So as your dog starts back towards you, you say, come here. I don't want you to use come unless you can bet me $100 that you have not already burned that cue. Because how many times do you say to your dog, come? And your dog's like, I'm just going to blow you off and go do whatever the hell I was doing. All right. See, I would be rich, right? Okay. So come here. That's what we're going to use. And we're going to say it in that dog-centric voice that lets your dog know, hey, this one's about me. Somebody's talking to me over here. This is like when mom and dad, when it sounds like that, it's about me. And if you don't have that yet, you're going to develop it. All right. When your dog gets back to you, you're going to mark and reward. So yes, or good, or if you want to use a clicker, click. And because mark can't be single, always reward, okay? Mark and reward. So We're going to use low value for find it, high value for come here. We're going to start really small, like I said. This is also little peep behind the curtain. This is also starting small for you. I want you guys to get good at capturing, marking, rewarding. I want you guys to start small and like be starting to get into that fluency phase by week 2 so that you find it easier to do the next things on our list. So this is really, you know, we're mirroring on the human side what we're doing on the dog side. That should not be a secret. So as our dogs are catching on and we want to start like pushing and generalizing, like say you have a whole week where your dog is 95% or better in the kitchen with find it and come here. That means it's time to push it to a larger space. It doesn't mean it's time to go to an off-leash park and do it. We want to step towards that, right? And make sure that every step of the way that the dogs are succeeding. Like it's our job as the teacher to make sure that the learner succeeds. That is the good teacher. All right, practice, practice, practice. We want reliable recall in our dogs. And the reason we put this first is because it's the lifesaver. Like this and leave it are 2 of the big safety things. Having reliable recall in your dog. I never have my dogs off leash. I am not that person. I'm just not. Like BG she's from a dog fighting case. She's very, very tippy with female dogs. And she's a terrier. Like I would just never, ever do that. She has gotten loose and I have used my emergency recall and she didn't even think about it. She just right back to me. And it's so good. My dog's relationship, their training history with me is so good that when my husband and I are handling different dogs, and like maybe I'll say to Justin, I'll be like, let's go. BG will go in the direction that I'm going without any leash pressure because it just happens automatically. She doesn't have to think about it. It just happens. So this is a really, really important behavior. People pay trainers like thousands of dollars to teach their dogs this. You're going to do it for free and you're going to be smart about it and you're going to build it up and you're not going to use it when you don't have to. That's what makes it reliable. Okay. The only way to do this is make it part of your daily routine. So after your dog has learned it, you want to use it a couple times a day and then a few times a week, right? To keep it fresh. And who doesn't want a dog who comes right to them excitedly, ready for whatever you've got going on when they call them? It's glorious. It's wonderful to be able to do. Okay, our week 1 challenges. Now, every week we're going to have lessons and challenges. So the challenge is the step-by-step. The no is the more you're going to have to like sometimes dig a little bit into you and how you do things. Simply put, in behaviors that are rewarded are more likely to occur in the future, and behaviors that are not are less likely to occur in the future. So reinforcement increases behavior, punishment decreases behavior. We don't even have to go into the quadrant because everything is dependent on the dogs. Like if a dog doesn't find you saying no, punishing, it's not going to stop the behavior. Most of your dogs, if you've been using no, they've learned to tune it out, okay? Unless you're willing to couple, remember when we talked about coupling a reinforcer, right? To make a secondary reinforcer. No only works if you've coupled it with a punishment. No only works if you've used it in conjunction with hurting or scaring your dog before. So you're probably wasting your breath. Now, you can interrupt dogs and say, hey, you can get their attention, but saying no as a punisher doesn't work unless you've paired it with punishment before. So you're just going to challenge yourself. Like when you want to say no, why do I want to do this? If my dog's barking, could I call them to me instead? What else could I do instead of using a concept that my dog probably doesn't understand and burning this word and frustrating myself and not getting the behavior I want anyway, right? So when you think, I want to say no, what I want you to do is stop. Just stop. What do you want your dog to do instead of what they're doing? Okay. We're teaching recall. We're going to be able to call them to us. We're going to be able to have them target our hand, sit down, stay in a position. We're going to be able to do all those things, right? Instead of using that now. And then very lastly, journaling. So tracking progress is important. It helps us know when we're reaching our goals. It helps us stay accountable and stay on track. You are going to get a new sheet each week for journaling. And let me load this one up for you guys to see. So this is new, and this is something that we did not do previously. And I think it was a miss. I'm honestly not sure why I didn't include it, because I feel like I know better. I mean, developing classes, like this is the first time I developed a basics class for remote learning on my own. So, you know, I guess I can give myself a break, but second time around. So you guys are going to watch the video in a minute, but to recap, the week's goal is to do Find It and Come Here, and we're going to do it 4 times as part of your dog's morning routine. If your dog isn't super food motivated, you can do the exercise before breakfast when they're extra hungry. If not, you can do like a light breakfast and do it a little bit later. Remember to keep it fun and upbeat. You can always warm up by saying your dog's name and delivering a reward when they look at you. It lets them know that it's time to start working. These lessons, 3 to 5 minutes maximum, all right? You want to keep them in that sweet spot where they are in eustress, they're learning, they're having a good time learning. I'm also going to give you a little tip that, so I am a progressive dog trainer, and basically what that means in behavior is these are placental hemispheric brained mammals. So if it's been proven true in humans and not just proven in dogs, we're going to assume it's true in dogs unless we learn otherwise, right? So like we know, we have some factual stuff, and then we have some like, oh, we're going to draw this conclusion. This is we're going to draw this conclusion. The science part of it is we know that jackpotting is very, very effective, okay, when we use it as part of a training program, right? And jackpotting is simply giving a bunch of treats one after the other, right? Think about it as pulling the lever on a jackpot and having all of those coins come out, okay? Now, in human behavior, what they're starting to say is when you're learning things, when you're having good experiences, when you're experiencing novelty and you're experiencing joy or satisfaction or happiness, like pleasure, you want to hold on to that feeling for 30 seconds. You want to take a deep breath. You want to scan your body. You want to feel it. You want to know how it feels in your head, how it feels in your belly, how it feels in your muscles. You want to hold on to the emotions that go with it. And you really want to try and solidify it, because guess what's happening? Those neural pathways are being built. So like the wooey stuff, it's not like, some of it is like, we're not manifesting this, we're like actually doing the work, okay? But we really, really want to make sure that we help build those neural pathways. Christine, yes, you can you can start over with come here, or you can just use come, but still do the exercise and record how she's doing. Okay, so last part for our journaling is that you're going to work in sets of 10. And this is just because it's easy. Like, not everyone is mathy. I do this because, like, sometimes when I work, I'd be doing like 15 different dog treatments a day. So I would do like 3 dogs at a time and then sit down and do my notes. And this is how, like, I was able to remember when I did sets of 10. So you're going to keep track of successes as you're working. You're going to record the percentage or the number they got right. And if you're not seeing 80 to 100%, like on day 1, it could mean there's too much stimulation in the environment, your rewards aren't reinforcing enough, or your timing's off. Okay. So I'm telling you, from day one, day dot, as they say in Australia, from day dot, you want to be getting these behaviors right away. You want to get that acquisition going day 1. If you're not, don't keep like building resiliency in the wrong direction. Stop and reassess. Go, what is going on here? Is there too much space? Like, make sure you're working 1 dog at a time. The example I used here is paying attention to your dog's exercise routine and other factors and choosing the best time for training. So if you have kids and they're home in the morning and your dog is super social, that's not going to be the best time for training. It's just not. Your dog has a better agenda with your children. So in this case, we might feed them like a half of a breakfast. And then when the kids are at school or engaged in some other activity, then we do our little training session. It may not work for your family to do it at breakfast. That's no big deal. You're going to figure out what works for you. And you're going to look at the day, the time, and the setting, right? Is it a weekday or a weekend? Have you eaten? Have you exercised? What other people and dogs are in the environment? You're going to tell me what treats you used. You're going to grade your dog. And then there's a spot for notes. And then at the bottom, questions for next week. Certainly flip that over, put more notes on the back. I want to make sure that you guys are getting a lot of feedback as you're going through this, not just on Mondays. Okay. So we'll get you in that group on the Facebook, and we will be able to, we have a fantastic group. I am so thankful that you guys all showed up. I mean, just, not only is this going to help your dogs, but I really believe that, when you give people something of value, it brings them pleasure. Like, when's the last time you ordered something from like a small business and you open it and there's like all these little things and there's like a hand-drawn note and it's like, oh, this is like really, yeah. Like, we want this to be so good that you go and tell your friends and your relatives, like, hey, here's a link to this course online that you can do for free. Because what we can't do is help everyone rehome their dog or help rehab every single dog, but we can help these dogs stay in their homes. And once you've done it, you have a lens to speak to someone through, that you've lived through that frustration of having a dog with behavior issues, and that you've walked the walk, and that you can actually share something with them that can truly help them and can really be life-changing. And for some dogs, I mean, it really is like, it's the difference between life or death. Behavior, I have worked in many, many shelters, and no matter what people say when they're surrendering a dog, listen, if that dog had great behavior and like no medical issues, that dog would go to a friend or a family member. It is like 90+% of the time. The reason that those dogs are being surrendered is because there are basic behavior issues that got so frustrating that they've just hit the ceiling. They've hit the boiling point, and they can just literally no longer manage their dog at home. So these are absolutely, this is like the life-saving stuff. All right, so I am. So I have tried to use the Zoom technology to like share my screen and play videos. I don't know about y'all, but it never works right for me. It's always glitchy for people. So we have found it's easier to just take a 5-minute break. You guys are going to click on this link. You're going to watch that video. We're going to come back for some quick Q&A. And then I'm going to send you guys off on your first big week of your new journey with your dogs. So I will see you guys in 5. Go watch that video and come back with questions. Justin, come here.
Hi, come here. What are you doing? Oh,
All right. Everyone back? All right, we brought special guest star here.
hi. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. You gotta say hello to everybody. Yeah. You say hello. Say hi, everybody. Did you watch me on my TV show? Yeah, the Naughty Dog Show.
All right, so this is Justin, who you just saw in the video. Yeah, that's you. You're on the big TV now. Yeah, Justin Bieber. So Justin is from a case where a person had 93 dogs in a 15 by 30 portion of a trailer. It was basically just pulling out the puppies that were viable and selling them. And some of the dogs had lost eyes, limbs, were, blind from just like the ammonia. Justin had a lot of behavior issues when he was first seized. He was a bite risk. He had to be caught on a catch pole. He had to be sedated for all his cursory vet exams. It took him like a solid year to be able to be handled by a veterinarian. But he is a fantastic dog. And, some of the things that you guys are going to learn over the next 4 weeks are the things that he learned to help him get where he is. Now he's like over here just teaching people. He's also a fantastic helper dog and has helped rehab some of our dog fighting survivors by becoming their friends. And he'll tell a pit bull he does not care. He's like, oh, you think I'm small? Just you wait. Like he does not know his size. But he's a great little dog. So, and fun to train. So now that you have seen what is in store for this first week, do you have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourselves. As you can see, I've given this to you in written format, verbal. I've explained it. I've done the video. I really want you guys to have enough confidence going into this first week. Like, oh yeah, I can totally do this. I've seen it. I've read it. I've got it. Do you got it? If you don't got it, I need to know. I want you guys to feel confident, like getting started.
Hi, so I do have a question now. It is me, my husband, and our 3 kids. 2 are teenagers, one's 10, so one was preteen. Is it beneficial at all to have them try to do this too, or is it going to be better if I just get started with Zora on this? I just wasn't sure.
So yes, maybe, or no, I don't know, because I don't know your dog. So here's what I'm going to say. I would try it with her first. The thing about positive reinforcement training is the worst thing that can happen is that someone gets a free cookie because you marked at the wrong time. And if you mark, you must reward. So if someone got a free treat. Kids can do this type of training. I don't think that kids are great with marking, but they can just do reward-based training and take the marking out of it. And maybe like once you've taught a behavior, the kids could help you generalize. I definitely think teenagers could do this, no problem. But I mean, I've taught 6-year-olds how to teach dogs using positive reinforcement. So, but again, if your dog is like super amped by your kids and just gets their like, woo, their crazy energy, maybe not.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see how it goes. Next question. Anybody? All right. All right. You guys are easy. I'm worried. All right. I believe in you though. Oh, Tobias, did you have a question?
Yes. So is it if you have multiple dogs, it's 4 sessions per dog
Yes.
per day, sets of 10.
Yep.
Okay.
And I would just print out as many dogs as you have, print out that many journals. There's a spot for their name, just fill it in, put them all on the fridge and just do them. So because you're using food and because you may be using high value food, I don't advise doing it all together because it can cause food fights, right? So maybe 2 in the morning, 2 at night, if you have 4 dogs, like you will figure out how to make it, you'll figure out what works for you. But yeah, the goal is basically every other day you want to be doing a lesson because that's how you're going to get that traction. So yeah.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. Any other questions? I see, Christine, will the email to the Facebook group be sent in an email? Yes, that email will be going out tonight. After I close up this meeting, I am going to send you guys the attachments. Make sure, last time I didn't send an attachment, so if I'm not in your address book, and this is like going out to multiple people, so if you don't see it, check your spam folder. Because we do have problems with that, even though we pay Google to make it not a problem. Technology, right? All right. Well, I'm very excited. I'm excited for this group. You know, I think you guys showing up here is step 1. And the incentive is, you know, more harmony with our dogs, just better relationship and better behavior with our dogs. And for me, the goal is, like I said, force multiplication. If you guys do this and you become converts to positive reinforcement, reward-based training, if you guys go, oh yeah, you actually can take a free resource or 2 and make a huge difference for your dog, then we are able to better promote this and push this out there to other people who will also benefit. So, you know, you guys are doing it for us. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you. All right. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. All right. Have the best week. And we're going to get started on that homework. I'll see you guys in the Facebook group. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.